was interesting, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, because it was a cold case for many years. And the police found out because the killer opened his mouth. Otherwise, they didn't even think about this guy. He wasn't a suspect. He wasn't even mentioned in this investigation, so it's kind of funny to see that. Not funny, but interesting to see that police didn't know anything about him, and well, he was bragging, quote unquote, on how he did it, and then they end up finding him. So let me start with the case. This happened in Maryland, in a town that it's called Waldorf. This town is located 23 miles southeast from Washington, D.C., so you have an idea where it's located. This town is kind of interesting because it's usually busy during the winter time, and the one thing that they like, or that it's popular in this town, is to go and enjoy the bar scene at night. So going to bars and spending your evenings or nights there, getting together with friends and having a good time. Now, people in this area, it's not that they love winter, they usually don't like it that much, according to everything that I read. It's something that I continue to read in every single blog. It's not that people love to do that, but that's what they do during the winter time, since, it's not the perfect weather to go to the beach or anything like that. So, but there was a guy who loved winter, and his name was Chris Mater. He was 23 years old, and he was a bartender, so of course he loved that high season. He worked in a local bar, and according to his friends, he was a very nice and funny guy who got along with everyone. He was also a handsome guy, so it seems like he had it going for him. Chris also dreamed about becoming a sports reporter, or to work in a station where he could share about sports and stuff like that. So he was trying to chase that dream while he was working at the bar and paying for his college and, daily expenses. Recently, he got the attention from somebody, or another sports reporter from Washington, D.C. But he was already working, or he actually had an internship in a local station, and the people that work with him there, they described him as ambitious and charismatic. I think you can kind of figure already, he was a charming guy, he was nice, he was funny, he got along with everyone. He, was trying to become what he truly wanted to do with his life and work as. So yeah. But he already graduated from Pittsburgh University. So he already finished the beginning of his career. But he moved back home to Waldorf because he wanted to continue to study there. And in order to do that, he needed to pay for his tuition. So he was working at the bar, but he was also living with his mom, who had a husband, his stepdad. And the mom had heart problems, and she was pretty sick. So he, the mom would describe him as somebody he really enjoyed to spend time with his family as well. So I guess, it was a win-win. You would just go back home, continue to study there, go to school there, work as a bartender to help his mom and to pay for daily life. It seems like everything was working just fine. But on Thanksgiving Day at 3 a.m., a police officer, Cesar Casiano, was done working. He was done with his shift, and he went home. When he got to his house, he was getting out of the car, and he heard a gunshot. So he just got to check it. He wanted to find out where it was coming from and what happened. So he started moving towards, because it was pretty close to him, he started to drive towards where he thought that it came from. Now, that's when he sees a car that crashed into some electrical box. He couldn't see the driver, so he didn't know if he was hurt or what happened to him. So he parked it. The police officer parked his car and got closer. When he got closer to the car, he realized that the driver, even though he couldn't see it from his car, he was still in the car, and that he had his seatbelt on, but he had a gunshot to the head. He was shot. At this time, he realized that he wasn't breathing, so he called the police and waited the scene. When the police get there, they see that the car had a dent on the driver's side door and some marks on the floor that were kind of thinking that somebody pushed him out of the road. That's the first thought of the police. So this didn't seem like, like he was trying to get away from somebody and they still got up to him. No, it seems like somebody was following him, pushed him out of the road, and then got out and shot him in the head. They did some kind of preliminary forensic work at the scene, looking for fingerprints in the car, but they just couldn't find anything that they could work with. So they started to go through the car and they found the victim's wallet. It was Chris Mater, and he lived a few blocks away from where they found the car. He was wearing a uniform, so police thought that he was leaving his work and going home for the night. At first, police thought that maybe this was a robbery. And according to what I heard and to Chris's friend, you can make $1,000 that night. It's one of the busiest nights in the year, so you will make a lot of money working as a bartender. So he could have gotten over $1,000 for the night in cash on him. So the police were wondering, were they trying to take the money away from him or what the deal was? But they started to go through the car. Well, while they were going through the car, they found the money. It was almost $1,000. So they knew that this wasn't a robbery. So at this point they sent the body for the autopsy, but they keep the car for investigation, of course. At this point they go talk to the stepfather, Chris's stepfather, Rain, who was of course very sad to hear the news, but he was very worried about the mom having some heart problems, and he wanted to make sure that when the police tell her about it, was at her house. The police went and they talked to her. She was really sad, of course, and she was hyperventilating, but she didn't have anything else. I mean, she was okay. She wanted to know right away who did it. She wanted to know the people that was responsible for it, who was responsible for it. But the police had no idea at this point, and they wanted her to answer a few questions to see if she could think of somebody who wanted him dead. That Thanksgiving, as you can probably tell, was pretty tragic for the family and for the town. And the family found themselves preparing for a memorial service instead of Thanksgiving dinner. The town couldn't understand who could have done it. He was the nicest guy. He was going to school. He already graduated, from the other school. He was working at night as a bartender. He was paying for his bill. He was helping his mom. He got along with everyone. They just couldn't believe it, and the police at this point had no leads or anything or anybody who were investigating. So then the police get a recording of a 911 call on that night, and they started to investigate that call. Now you probably wonder why, and if they couldn't have talked to this person that called 911 to report that gunshot that killed Chris Mater. The person that called sounded suspicious. That is why the police wanted to investigate him a little bit more. They kind of assumed that he knew more information, or that he could have been the actual killer. So basically what the guy said is that he was on the road, that it's 301 apparently, and according to people that live in the area, that is a very busy and loud road full of truckers, and it's very, very loud. And the person that called said that he was driving through that road when he heard a gunshot that was coming from Smallwood Drive, which is where Chris was shot. So, unless he had super ears, or I don't know, yes, it would have been impossible to hear it from that road, that it's so busy, according to the police and according to the people from the area. So the police tracked the call to a payphone in Laurel. This is a town that is 1 hour away from Waldorf. And they check the area, of course, the phone and everything. They do their forensic work, but they get no leads, nothing to work with. At this time, the autopsy results came back and determined that Chris died because of the gunshot to the head. Okay, that was how he died. But the gunshot to the head sometimes, or I should say most of the time, tells the police that somebody planned to kill him. For example, if he was involved with drugs and the person that he was doing the business with, or who was providing him the drugs or whatever he was selling illegally, maybe he got some kind of trouble with the person, so they sent somebody to kill them. I know there's a term for that, but I can't think of it. So the police, that's what they thought. They thought, well, this is a clean job. We can't find any evidence or anything, so it's going to be some kind of professional that is doing this. So they started to investigate and try to see if Chris was in fact in some kind of a trouble. He was doing something illegal or something that they could have led somebody to have problems with him. But the police investigated and they couldn't find anything on him. He was actually a nice guy who was working and studying, and he wasn't getting in trouble. So the police go to the bar and talk to the people that work with him, and they continue to say the same thing, that he didn't have problems with anybody, that he got along with everyone, and that they couldn't tell that he had any problems. So, but the manager mentions that the night before, Chris kicked out a few guys out of the bar because they got in some kind of trouble. So that is very common in a bar. This is not like, oh my goodness, this is why somebody killed him. He could have kicked out many more people before this, guys. But since this happened the night when he died, they had to go on something and try to investigate through there and see if it leads to something. So the manager tells the police that the guys, or all the co-workers, were going to go to this game, and I'm not sure if they were playing some kind of football or if they were watching a football game, but they were all going to get together at this football field. I think it was more of a game that they wanted to play as friends. So when they get there, the police talk to the employees of the bar that they were there, and they didn't even know about Chris. So they said, well, just hold on, I'm sure Chris is running late. That is when the detectives have to inform the co-workers that Chris was actually dead. And of course the co-workers were really sad about it, and they were confused. They were just with him a few hours before they left at 3. I mean, it was a shock for them. But at that time, one of the co-workers mentions that Chris was in a great mood that day until he had that encounter with the customers that he had to kick out. Apparently, a couple of guys at the bar early in the night had a fight. The co-workers don't remember the names of the customer, but they remember around the time where they started fighting with each other. So Chris decided not to give them any more alcohol, and when they got mad at him, he kicked them out. Again, this was pretty normal in a bar, but they still had to investigate. They just had to find those guys and ask them if they actually went home. They stayed around. They had to find out what happened to those guys. So they go to the bar again, and they paid with credit cards. So they track them down pretty quickly. Before paying them a visit, they do the background check and find out that one of them had some kind of problems with the law. He did some jail time, and it was mostly because of his temper. He was getting in trouble because of it. So nothing major, but still, he had a record. So police tracked down Tony, who was the one who had the record, and went to visit him. Now, he opened the door. He was at his parents' house. He opens the door, and he is looking like he's drunk. I should say it like that. And Tony tells the police that he took a taxi with his friend and went back home when he was kicked out of the bar. The police went to see the receipt from the taxi, but So the police goes to Ross's house and they wanted to see that receipt and see if the stories were the same. When they showed up there, Ross tells them exactly the same story and shows the receipt. Police also contacted the taxi driver, and the taxi driver confirmed that they left, yes, on the time that they said, and that he dropped them off in their houses, in each one of their houses. So again, police had nothing to investigate. That was dead. I mean, they couldn't go on anything. Everything checked out. So the police thought that something that they could do is try to get together the community and come up with some kind of reward money. So that usually has some kind of influence on how much people call and report this kind of I don't know, anything, It could be something really silly, but at least they have a lead, they have something to go on, and so the people from the town, they started to organize events. The businesses donated money, They tried to get as much money as they could for the reward for information that will lead to the arrest of the killer of Chris. Now, the police at the time was still doing press conferences and covered that area of the city with flyers, trying to see if somebody could come up and give them any kind of information. Now, 3 years later, so that should tell you that for 3 years they had nothing to go on. In the later spring of 2007, the police get a letter saying that this person had information about who killed, or the letter said that he knew who killed Chris Mater. This guy was Austin Hecker. He wrote the letter from jail, because he had charges and was convicted for arson. He tells the police he knows about who killed Chris, and that is a guy that he met in prison. He gave all the details on the letter, saying that his name was Matt Corral. I think this guy, Austin, was pretty smart. He knew that if he didn't say something that will spark the curiosity of the police, I don't know if they would have paid attention to him since he was in jail. I think it was smart that he gave the entire explanation on that letter. In that letter, he says that Matt was telling everyone how he killed Chris. But, so he wasn't directly telling the story to Austin, but Austin was overhearing how he was giving details on how he killed Chris. Now, the police, for some reason at this point, wonder why he wanted to help. I'm saying, Austin, why did he write that letter? Why did he take the time to, tell on Matt? But I think it's pretty obvious. At this point, they have a $60,000 reward, so, he probably wanted the money. So, the police started to investigate Matt, and he had a record, but it was nothing like murder or anything like that. He was usually problems with drugs and some kind of illegal activity that didn't involve any kind of murder or anything with weapons. But the police go to the prison and talk to Austin to find out if it was actually the truth, if he had the same story when they went to the prison. And he gives the same story. And of course he tells them that he wants the reward, $60,000. The police were still trying to figure was saying was true, so they asked him if at the time that the allegedly Matt pulled the trigger, if the window of Chris's car was up or down. And that's when he tells them that it was down. Now, what is interesting about this is that nobody knew about this because the police didn't tell anybody this information. They wanted to keep it so they could tie somebody. Somebody could have said something and they were like, well, how did this person know if we never mentioned that in any reports or in any press conferences? So they realized, in fact, Austin was somewhat telling the truth because he didn't know it, but he actually heard it from somebody who knew or was there that night. So they started to look for Matt, who lived 30 minutes away from Waldorf, but they don't want to spook him away. So they continue to build the case and make sure they can arrest him when they go look for him. So the police, of course, they knew they wanted to talk to him, but because of that reason, they wanted to investigate him a little bit more and see if they can find any more leads or anything that could help them. And they found out that Matt never acts alone. Never. He usually has somebody that keeps repeating in every single thing that he gets caught doing. And I'm saying that because he probably did other things that the police didn't even know he did, but he got caught. And almost every time he had somebody with him, and in this case, one of the names that repeated was Brent. Matt and Brent were usual, the regular customers from the bar where Chris worked, so more than likely they knew Chris as well. Again, they're trying to find some kind of connection to have more evidence or to have more to build a case against Matt. So they decided to go and find Brent. Well, they found him pretty quickly. He was arrested because of some kind of party problem he had, and he was arrested at the time. So the police talked to him and he was just not having it. He had a bad attitude and he didn't care about anything that the police was saying. But at the time that the police show Brent a picture of Chris, that changes everything. He started to worry and his attitude completely changed. He says, the only thing he says actually is that Matt and him didn't get along with Chris and that they were not friends. He also tells the police that they should talk to Jacob Mallard. He is another one of his friends, and he also had a record of problems with the police, but he has been clean and he's living close to Waldorf, but he's not getting in trouble. He's trying to do things right. And that's when the police decided to go and talk to Jake and see if he could tell them something about Matt or, any information about him. Now, Jake tells the police that he was at the bar that night with Matt and Brent, the night before Thanksgiving. The guy looked very scared, sad, and afraid. Police didn't think that he had anything to do, but that he knew that something happened. He knew who did it, or, that he had the information that they needed. So, Jake tells them that Matt wanted to give Chris a lesson. Hold on right there. He's a full-grown man trying to give a lesson to another full-grown man. him in that they were going to steal Chris's money to teach him a lesson. I don't know if Brent and Jake were naive. I don't know if they had a plan or if they were drunk. Something doesn't add up. How are you gonna take the money and get away with it? How are you gonna get rid of the guy? Or, God. Okay, let's keep going. They follow Chris and on Smallwood Drive, Brent's car is pushed Chris is out of the way, causing him to crash. Then Matt gets out of the car and asks Chris to put his window down. Chris does. They start arguing. And then Matt shoots Chris in the head. Jake and Brent get really scared and they don't know what to do, so they drive the car and they leave Matt there. Police gave Jake immunity for the information and they go back to Brent, and of course Brent confesses to get some kind of deal for himself too. So 6 years later, police arrest Matt at his house. He keeps denying that he killed Chris, and he asks for a lawyer. At this point, it was too late. Police had enough evidence to convict him for murder. On June 29th, 2012, almost 8 years later, they find him guilty and gets life in prison without parole. He appeals every time he can, and continued to say that he's an innocent guy. But now, we know that he's not really innocent. There's a couple of witnesses that one of them probably was the one who called the police from the town, Laurel, an hour away to let them know about the gunshot. They probably got scared. They wanted to see if somebody could help Chris. But that doesn't make sense, and that drives me crazy. I have to believe that there is something that, I don't know, sparks in the person's mind to commit that kind of craziness of murder. Because how can you go in to teach somebody a lesson, steal their money, and get away with it? Unless you're trying to be sneaky and get in their car and steal the money, and maybe, you go talk to this guy and I'll go in the car because I know where he put the money and I'm gonna take it. There is no way that you're going to follow the guy, take the money from him, and then not go to jail. Something was not adding up. They were probably way too drunk to think. And then, the funny thing is that they didn't even take the money. Matt didn't. I don't know what his plan was, but it didn't work as he planned. If you know what I mean. It makes me wonder, what did he want to achieve, Matt, with this whole thing? What kind of lesson are you going to teach a full-grown man and not get in trouble while you're doing it? I mean, the consequences of that stupid thought of giving a person a lesson, it really blows my mind. We really have to study the human mind and try to find what is set off, or what stops working, or what happens in a person's mind when they decide to do this. Did he teach him a lesson? No. Did he get away with it? No, because he's not smart enough to do it. Because how can you go and brag? I mean, maybe he had a dirty conscience, and I'm glad he did. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have done it. I'm saying, again, goes in life, and that is according to what I, did my research. And according to Jake, he was just jealous. I mean, Matt was, and maybe all of them were, and he didn't just want to say it, okay? Because after you are clean and you are out of the scene, you're probably thinking like, what was I thinking? This guy, Matt, could have gone to school. He could have gotten some kind of bartender job and make that amount of money a night. He could have gotten what Chris had if he worked hard enough to do it. He chose not to. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to take somebody's life. Never. It's never right. Never. Under no circumstances it's right to take somebody else's life. But I'm just saying, if you really like what the other guy has, why don't you work hard enough to get it yourself? Yeah. Again, frustrates me to see that when they explain the reason why they did it, it doesn't make sense. So, anyways, I hope that this case was interesting for you. I hate to say you enjoyed this video because, of course, it's not a matter that it shouldn't be enjoyable, but at least I hope that it was interesting for you. Thanks again for watching. I had a few technical difficulties with this video. This is the third time